The nameplates in the world of cars can honestly be a bit much, all right? You have the S, the RS, the M but not the M, the AMGs that aren't full AMGs, the ZLs, the ZRs, the Dash Vs, and probably 9 million more. But there's one that's been around for quite some time and has become the staple of the domestic up-trim car game. One that, bar none, scares every 16-year-old because they don't know what the hell it means, okay? A car series that has made parents cry and sons learn the value of letting off the throttle on a rainy day if they want to live another day. I'm Alex @FI on Instagram, and today we're going to be talking about one of the signature options offered by the good old Chevrolet, okay? An option that if you're on the fence and for some reason are confined to only buying a Chevy as your first car, you would aim for something that has these two letters right next to it, no spaces, no dashes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about you wanting to own a Chevy SS. If this is your first video, well, hello there. Hi. Okay, and if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe if you haven't. That'd be really cool, so we can keep making videos like this. And if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, and suspension, be sure to check us out over at fitmentindustries.com, where we have everything when it comes to wheels, tires, and suspension. On top of 0% financing, so you can build your stuff now and pay it off later so that you can actually have your garage build done. If you want to, no pressure, just letting you know, or not. Yeah, I just want to see your S14 actually on the road, but that's a decision that's ultimately up to you. And just so you know, we do have a giveaway going on, and if it's over, I'm sorry, but Artisa Art-Formed Wheels with Continental Tires and Fortunato. Artisa Art-Formed Wheels is our very own brand that we launched. It's a super lightweight monoblock deco directional wheel. We're super excited to share it. It'll be in the comment section below, description, all that sort of stuff. The SuperSport name was Chevrolet's signature option, okay, offered on an exclusive number of performance cars and trucks, okay? You'd see the SS logo hit on the first generation Chevy Corvette. Beautiful car. I don't care who you are, it's probably the most beautiful car ever made. And debuted in 1957, it was a custom-built racing sports car that springboarded the Chevrolet name into the sports car game with the SS sigil, okay? It wasn't introduced as a full trim option until 1961, though, for people like you and people like me, where it was featured in the classic, the badass, the long boy car, the third generation 1961 Impala, but was more so just chrome bits and pieces versus an actual performance modification. Back then, that was pretty much all they could do because they weren't really playing around with the performance aspect of things to the grand scale to where people like us would even want to pay for it. Kind of makes sense. Plus, it was like back in the 50s. They didn't really even know what they were doing. It was $53.80. That's about as much as a digital copy of Call of Duty Black Ops. That's on a PS4. I think that's like $48, okay? That $53.80 upcharge for the SS trim gave you the SuperSport trim, chassis reinforcement, some stronger springs, shocks, and a little Corvette-style dashboard. It was just enough to give you a little extra sauce that you were paying for to make your car feel a little bit better. And just for scale, Chevy would go to build nearly 500,000 Impalas at the time, and only 453 of them featured the SS package trim. So in all, this was already a really rare option in the late 50s, pretty much. After the Impala, the SS would be blessed into the Monte Carlo, the Nova, the El Camino, the Camaro, the Chevelle, and even the Malibu. And even PSS, will you date me, circle yes or no, the HHR. Nowadays, when we talk about the double SSs, we think about the likes of the Chevy Cobalt, the Caprice, the Commodore, okay, the new generation high-performance domestics with the fancy badge that when I was 17 years old, I was absolutely scared shitless up because I don't know what it is, but when you don't really know cars, but you're trying to know cars and you got a little testosterone under your belt because you're 17 and you went through that phase, anytime you see something that's a red logo or an SS or some sort of thing on the side of the car, you automatically have to believe that it's faster because it exists. And there's no way an SL could have beaten SS. The SS sounds faster. Damn it. The Cobalt SS would probably be the one that people like you and people like me actually know, okay? It would feature a 2.0 liter or a 2.4 liter Ecotec or supercharged Ecotec motor that had better suspension, tighter feelings, and badges. The Caprice was a 6 liter L98 V8. And most importantly, the most recent Chevy SS features a 6.2 liter GM LS3 V8 with 415 horsepower and more subtleness that would make your parents wonder why you chose a four-door sedan as your college gift if you just had a little bit of extra money. Chevy SS, banger. Nowadays, most people when referencing the SS would mean the Holden Commodore or Chevy SS. That's usually what they're talking about these days, okay? Which was an imported Commodore SSV sedan, whereas previous generations of the Commodore were brought into the USA as the Pontiac G8. And right before GM decided to murder production of the Australian vehicles in 2017, which is a bold move, the automotive gods bless us with this fine piece of machinery that makes all the people over the age of 27 with 2 kids cry with lust because the CTSVs are still just too much money. So when they go to look to buy something else, the Chevy SS is there with a bow on its head, right? Just laying in front of you, wanting you to buy it. Rear-wheel drive, 6-speed automatic, Brembo brakes, and magnetic ride control was pretty much the recipe to make the Chevy SS what it was. And a lot of people now look back on this car wondering why it failed, because to be honest, it should be way more popular than it actually is. And the reason that it actually never took off is because of this. GM's decision to close the Australian plant had handshake back in 2013, so GM threw a pity party to those that were still upset about sending Pontiac to the Rancor pit and imported the Commodore as the SS to close out the last hurrah, the true excitement around this car to the sedan muscle enthusiasts pretty much. The target though was that they needed to move to make this successful 12 to 15,000 units per year and they'd be right as rain. That's all they had to do, and from the most part, most people in the marketplace were really excited to pick up these cars. And when it came down to it, they sold 3,000. That's it. 25% to target. That's failing. I know that sometimes we think the automotive companies seem to know what they're doing, but there are times where they literally have absolutely no idea. And this was one of those times, because when they brought it in, they were severely underprepared in terms of what they had to do to sell this high-performance automatic sedan. And because of a lack of marketing, promotion, and cross-collaboration, GM really couldn't sell these things at all. And it died just as fast as it was brought back in, and most people were still on par with the Pontiac name and that dying, that when they brought in this Chevy, they didn't really see a difference between the old G8 and the new SS. And that is why we're done talking about, I have to sneeze, no.
Damn it!
We're here to talk about what it's like to own one of these bad boys. So you want a Chevy SS? Well, set down your Busch Latte and grab your toddler seat, because we're here to talk about what it's actually like to own one of these unknown cars. One of these cars that if you go on Google and you search it up, you'll hear a ton of people talk about why they love them, but they don't own them. Why a lot of people want to have one of these, but end up picking up a CTSV. Because it's really just one of those weird things where it's like they want to support it, but they won't buy it. The Chevy SS that we all know and love now go for about 20 to 25,000 and are sitting around various dealership lots and Facebook marketplaces. But there's a couple two-tree things that you're gonna wanna know before you pick one up. Number one is that the cars are no longer made, and as such, you're now playing on the impending doom that support for these cars will slowly decline over time. And even though it is a GM vehicle, and we think that you can just find parts at Advance, which 90% of the time you can, with this car, you're gonna have a slow bleed of available products because they just really weren't well supported. And even though there was a lot of cars that they were supposed to sell, they ultimately didn't sell many of them at all, which makes them inherently a little bit rare. Not fun, but you got yourself a little time before this actually becomes a major issue. Number two, they aren't that massively supported by communities and people alike. Search up if they're reliable, and you won't find many people outside of the fact talking about that they don't like the cheap chrome and occasional noise from the tires, or that the A-pillars are thick with 2 C's. For the most part, the Chevy SS isn't that popular, and a lot of people that own these cars really do love them, but they're not a prominent vocal part of the automotive domestic community. Outside of a few recalls, you have a pretty uncommon car that doesn't have too many issues. And the modification potential for these cars, since it's domestic V8, are huge. I don't know if you can say that anymore. Huge. We brought the H back. Intake, tune, exhaust, cam the bitch so she loves you, all right? And sticky nittos, and you're pretty much set to go. Throw some Belgans and some lowering springs from H&R so that you can keep the magnetic ride control, and you're pretty much all set to go. There is nothing else that you would want, all right? By the way, lowering springs, a lot of times on the electromagnetic suspension, are what keep the oil doing fancy shit in real time in the shock, so that you don't have to lose that technology when you do want to lower the car. And a lot of times, those cars come with a little bit of an automatic adjustable. It kind of goes down by itself, all right? Get rid of the chrome and take it to Texas 2K, where you can spank most things under 700 horsepower with 4 doors, all right? And everyone that looks at these cars is gonna be very, very curious as to why it sounds so fucking loud, because the Chevy SS is a heater of a sedan car. Seriously though, the Chevy SS is like the free-to-play version of the CTSV. It's more rugged, it's more raw, it's more affordable, and it's less known. People mistake it for a Malibu, but that's okay. Not many people usually want one of these versus the hyper-popular, all right, S14s. Way too expensive right now, or 350Zs, and all that stuff. But really, truly, as you start to go up and you start needing something that has a little bit more space but is still built for an automotive enthusiast, at the end of the day, the Chevy SS takes no all right? And it's a great car where back seats matter. And domestic cars these days, especially the SS, are actually pretty neat. And when you end up looking for something that's 4 doors, reliable, fun, and available, you may find yourself looking at a good old Chevy SS. But what do you think? Let us know below, and if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension, be sure to hit us up over at fitmentindustries.com. If you'd like us to cover another car, make sure to drop it below, and of course, we love you. I didn't mean that. We'll talk to you later. Peace.